This first story we have is called Attention Shoppers. Please hide in the back of the store immediately. Alright. Attention shoppers, came a male voice over the intercom. Please move to the back of the store immediately. The back of the store? I whispered to Daniel. Don't they mean the front of the store, to pay for our stuff? It was 8:50 p.m., 10 minutes till closing time. We brought our 2 kids out on this late-night Walmart excursion in the hopes of burning off some energy. Instead, they'd just thrown tantrums for new Legos and Hot Wheels. It was a disaster. But apparently, the disaster was just beginning. Please move to the back of the store immediately, the voice repeated overhead. This is not a drill. I glanced around, but the other shoppers were just as confused as I was. An old lady looked up at the ceiling, scrunching her face. What the hell? A dark-haired woman asked, her boyfriend pushing a cart full of garden supplies. Didn't you hear? An older man said, leaning over his cart of bottled water and canned food. We're in a tornado watch. 1 touchdown to Sourville. A tornado? It was definitely storming outside. I'd seen the black clouds roll in from the east earlier, but it didn't look that bad. Do not stay out in the open. I repeat, do not stay out in the open. There was a pause, then an explosion of sound as everyone began to mobilize. Carts rolling, panicked voices, feet slapping on the floor. No. This can't be happening. I hurried down the toy aisle, Tucker in my arms, Daniel and Jackson following me. 3 zigzaggy turns, and then they were in the electronics area. I glanced at the TVs on the wall, and pictured the 4 of us crushed underneath them. Stay away from windows and doors, the voice continued on the loudspeaker, and do not attempt to exit the store. Is it safe here? Daniel shook his head. Big open areas aren't good. I'm going to check and back, see if there's a break room or something. You stay here, okay? I nodded. Arms shaking, I sat down on the ground between 2 shelves of video games. Tucker sucked on a bottle in my arms while Jackson began to giggle. Is the tornado going to hit the store? And everything will fly around real fast? He asked with a big, stupid grin on his face. I don't know. A tornado. A real-life tornado like you see in the movies plowing through our town. It was so unfathomable. We were New York natives, transplanted here to Indiana only 6 months ago. I've never been in a tornado watch in my entire life. Daniel jogged back into view. Everything's locked up, he said, as he joined me on the floor. But listen, Fairview's a big town. The chances it'll hit this Walmart, I think we'll be okay. I never should have brought us here. You didn't know? None of us did. He wrapped his arm around me. You should have warned us. Like an emergency alert on our phones or a tornado siren or something. The voice overheard rang out again through the storm. Do not stay out in the open. Do not make yourself visible. This includes security cameras. Please move to a spot that is not visible to any cameras. I frowned. What does that have to do with tornadoes? A feeling of unease in the pit of my stomach. I glanced up and saw several black globes descending from the ceiling, hiding cameras within. I guess we should listen to them and get out of sight, I whispered. I grabbed Jackson's hand. Daniel picked up Tucker and we jogged out into the center aisle. The store was an eerie sight. Abandoned shopping carts askew in the aisle, full of everything from pies to batteries to plants. Footsteps echoed around the store from people unseen, as they found the new hiding spaces. We dodged a shopping cart full of soda, ran through kitchenwares, and then stopped in the Easter decoration aisle. There was a camera in the central corridor. As long as we stayed in the middle of the Easter aisle, we'd be invisible. The 4 of us crouched on the floor next to some demented-looking Easter bunnies. I'm hungry, Jackson whined. Shh, Mommy. I grabbed a bag of colorful chocolate eggs and ripped it open. Here, candy. Happy? I whispered, tossing them into his hands. Then I leaned back against the metal shelves, panting. I didn't have long to rest. Mechanical whine overhead, and then the voice came through the speakers again. Keep away from aisles with food. If you have food with you, leave it and move to a new hiding place. If you have any open wounds, cover them with clothing. What the fuck? That had nothing to do with keeping safe in a tornado. Whispered Jimmy, starting to stand. But the tornado! I don't think there is a tornado. Listen, do you hear any wind? I listened, but all I heard was silence. No howling wind, no shaking ground, no projectiles clanging against the metal roof. Maybe it's still coming? I know what they're saying doesn't make sense, but to go outside? We need to get out of here, now. He grabbed Jackson's hand as he held Tucker in his arms. Come on. Daniel, I don't think that's a good idea, I whispered. but the next words from the intercom changed my mind. Assume a fetal position and place your hands on your head. Close your eyes and do not open them for any reason. Let's go. We broke into a sprint and ran down the central aisle. Cameras be damned. The front door appeared in front of us, a little black rectangle looming in the distance. As we got closer, I saw Daniel was right. There was a tree at the border of the parking lot under a street lamp. It was perfectly still. We continued running past the clothing area, past the snacks lined up at checkout lines. I ran towards the sliding glass door as fast as my legs would carry me. Almost there, almost there, almost. The doors didn't open. No, 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 no. Daniel slammed his body against the door and it rattled underneath him. I tried to squeeze my fingers into the gap between them to try and pull them apart. They didn't budge. They locked us in, I whispered. I want to go home, Jackson said. Tucker was beginning to fuss too, making little noises like he was about to start full-on wailing. I turned around, and that's when I saw him. A Walmart employee. He was sitting on the ground at the end of one of the checkout aisles, facing away from us, wearing the familiar blue vest with a golden starburst. Hey, let us out! He didn't reply. Did you hear me? I don't care if there's a fucking tornado. Unlock the door and let us out. Again, he said nothing. But then did this, I could hear something. A wet, smacking sound. I stared at the man, slightly hunched over, still facing away from me. Was he eating something? The speaker overhead crackled to life. Attention, please do not speak to any Walmart employees. My blood ran cold. The smacking sound stopped, and then slowly the man began to stand. He placed his palms on the conveyor belt and pushed up. I could see they were stained with blood. I backed away, but my legs felt like they were moving through a vat of honey. No, no, no. Fingers locked around my arm and yanked. Come on, Daniel shouted. I sprinted after him deeper into the store. Tucker stared at me over his shoulder, and Jackson ran as fast as his little feet would take him. I was vaguely aware of the slap, slap, slap sound behind me, but I didn't dare look back. Daniel ran into the clothing area, and I swayed, dodging circular racks of t-shirts and wooden displays of baby clothes. He skidded to a stop and ducked into the dressing room area. In here, he whispered, motioning at one of the rooms. We piled inside and locked the door. Daddy? Jackson started. You listen to me very carefully, I said, crouching at his level. You have to be absolutely silent. Do not say a word, okay? Jackson looked at me, then Daniel, then he nodded and sat down on the floor. I'm gonna try and call 911, Daniel whispered, transferring Tucker to me and pulling out his phone. He tapped at the screen, then frowned. What? We don't seem to have any service. I don't... Thump. I grabbed Jackson and pulled him away from the door. The four of us huddled in the corner. I held my breath. Thump. Under the gap of the dressing room door, men's feet in black shoes. They slowly took a step forward, deeper into the dressing room. Don't move, I whispered, holding Jackson. The man took another step. Don't make a sound. Don't move. Don't. Tucker let out a soft cry. The man stopped. His feet turned, pointing at us. No, no, no. Tucker let out another cry, louder this time. My nails dug into Daniel's hand. No. My hand appeared, slowly pressed us against the floor, stained with blood. And then his knees appeared, as he lowered himself down to the gap. No, could he fit under? The gap wasn't small. It was like a stall door under the bathroom. If he flattened himself against the floor, there was a chance he could fit under. I watched in horror as his stomach came into view, his blue Walmart vest as he lowered the body into the floor. Then he pushed his arm under the gap and blindly swept it across the floor, as if feeling for us. This is it, we're gonna die. Then he lowered his head. His face, oh God, there's something horribly wrong with his face. He smiled up at us with a smile that was impossibly wide, showing off blood-stained teeth. His skin was so pale it was nearly blue, and his eyes, they were milky white, without pupils or irises. I opened my mouth to scream. Attention shoppers, the voice began again. No, no, no. Please make your way to the front of the store and make your final purchases. We will be closing in 10 minutes. What? And then, before I could react, something unseen jerked the man out of view. A strange dragging sound followed, as if someone was dragging his body out of the dressing room area. I stared at the floor, shaking, as Tucker's cries ringed in my ears. But he didn't come back. And within 10 minutes, the usual hubbub of Walmart returned. Voices, footsteps, shopping cart wheels rolling along the floor. Shaking, the store looked completely normal. People were lined up at the cash registers, placing their goods on the conveyor belts. Employees were scanning tags, printing receipts. People walked towards the glass doors, and when they did, they slid open. As we slowly walked towards the exit, I spotted an older man who'd warned us about the tornado earlier. What was that? I asked, unable to keep my voice from shaking. He shrugged. I guess the tornado missed us. What a miracle, huh? Giving us a smile, he disappeared out the glass doors and into the night. This next one is called How Many People Are in the Room? That was the first shocking thing Stella asked me as she settled in at the table. I looked around the diner. It was 2 in the morning. The place was mostly empty. What do you mean? How many people are in here right now besides us? She said. Excuse me. Maybe 5, 6, I replied. Stella's lips trembled. How many people are in the room exactly? She was terrified. I counted. The waiter, the old man staring into a bowl of soup by the door, the 2 young women coming down from a night of partying over pancakes, the guy in a ball cap trying to cut through his overcooked steak, and the middle-aged woman in a pea green overcoat. 6, I said. 6 people. Stella instantly relaxed. Thank you. Phil and I hadn't seen each other in 5 months. I was in school out of state and I was home for the summer. Stella had gotten into a good university, but her sister, Anne, had died in a car wreck 2 weeks before she went off to school. The death hit her hard. Real hard. I wasn't sure why she'd called me. I doubt it was to catch up, and it certainly wasn't a party. Stella knew I had abstained from everything. For me, that decision was the end result of being raised by verbally abusive alcoholics and knowing the genetic odds. Stella looked rough. Not strung out, but existentially exhausting. There were scars on her hands, bruises modeling her tattooed forearms, and some unusual scarification marks on her neck. 2 of them. They looked like clumsy Zeds, but reversed as if done in a mirror. Stella's friend Corey had dropped her off at the diner about 30 minutes before I'd gotten there. I didn't know him well, but what I did know I didn't like. So, how are you holding up? I asked. Stella didn't answer. The waiter appeared and Stella looked at him cautiously before she ordered a black coffee with a slice of blueberry pie. I got a hot tea and a side of fries, though I wasn't exactly hungry. We sat in uncomfortable silence for a few minutes before Stella, staring down at her hands, asked, "What's the worst thing you ever did?" I shrugged and said, "Lied to people, lied to get out of things, mostly to my friends in high school, but I've changed. I can't do that anymore. Oh, I also shoplifted once, a pair of socks." Stella laughed. That's when the waiter appeared with her drinks and food. Stella jumped, her eyes wide, face flushed. The other people in the diner turned, but did nothing. "You alright?" the waiter asked, weirded out. Taking a deep breath, Stella slowly sat back down. "Yeah, sorry," she said. "It's just been a long night." The waiter shook his head as he put the stuff down. When he left, Stella sipped her coffee, and then she looked over the mug at me, her eyes tearing. "I did the worst thing you can do. I tried to kill someone." I wasn't sure I heard her correctly. "What?" Stella nodded, and her eyes locked on mine. "A jogger. Corey and me hit him with the car. Oh my god, when did this... On my way here. We should call the cops. He could still be there, hurt, and... Don't bother," she interrupted. "We went back and checked on him. There was no jogger." "What's that fucking mean?" Like the blood drained from my face. I was starting to lose it. "Please, don't start playing games with me," I said. "I don't want to hear this sort of bullshit." "It isn't bullshit," Stella replied. "Ask Corey." I didn't want to call Corey. Stella said, "I didn't actually see the jogger. Corey did. That's how I knew. I asked him exactly where the man was, and I grabbed the wheel, and Corey screamed at me as I made the car slam into a guy, sent him flying. Like it mattered. Corey hit the brakes hard. He was losing it, talking about going to prison and his life being over. But I told him not to worry. That pissed him off something bad. When I got out of the car to help me, I got out of the car to help the jogger. He just froze up because there was no one there. The road was empty. Me. I expected that." She took another sip of the coffee and poked out the slice of pie with her fork, stabbing the crust and examining the blue tinge cones in the dough for the rest of the night. "See, it can look just like a person. Could be any age. Dressed any sort of way. Talks like a person. Eats, drinks, does all the regular sorts of things people do. Doesn't exactly sound threatening, I know. But wait for the twist. I can't see it. This thing pretending to be a person, it's invisible to me. But you and everyone else, you can see it." "I don't know what you're talking about." And I didn't. Stella finally looked up at me. 2 weeks ago, we were tripping. Me and Corey and this woman named Genevieve. That's a weird name. She was the guide. This was at Corey's house on the deck. We dropped N-bomb, that synthetic MDMA stuff. Even using hallucinogens to try and explore an inner mental space, tripping together, sharing the same imagery. It's crazy how, if you're in sync, like emotionally and mentally, you can basically travel together. I know how it sounds, I do, but it was really working for us. We were, I guess you describe it as something like astral traveling. But we built this architecture, this city, in our minds and then explored it. Mostly it was made of shifting, beautiful buildings, structures that rose over us like mountain ranges. And, in this mental city, that's where we came across it. The diner door chimed as the two young women having pancakes left. Stella watched them go, then turned back to me. I didn't need an explanation. There are 4 people in here now, I said. She nodded, sipped more coffee, and then continued. Well, this night, we traveled deeper into the city than we'd ever been before. We ended up in a tower, at a spiral staircase. We all went up to the top floor and found a locked door. You're all seeing the same thing, I interrupted, not buying the experience. Yes. Stella's demeanor intensified. The twitchiness melted away. We all saw it. Okay. So we got to the store. It's a metal door, dented, but from the inside, bulging out. Like someone was kicking the door, trying to smash it down. Genevieve, she got scared, told us not to open that door, to stay far away from it. She said a Voyager was on the other side. Voyager? That's what Genevieve called it. Being a guide, she knew the sort of constructions we were exploring. She'd seen doors like this one, and she'd been warned about the Voyagers. From the way she told it, they were like us. Explorers in the inner space, but not from our reality. From another one. A bad one. But long story short, I opened the door. Why would you do that? Stella stirred her coffee, lost in thought for a second. As she did, one of the cooks quietly came out of the kitchen beside the counter. Flipped through a little newspaper someone hadn't left and glanced over at me. He nodded, gave a little smile. I wondered if he made the prize I wasn't eating. After Corey and Genevieve drifted away, Stella continued, still staring at her drink, I heard a voice on the other side of the door, my sister's voice. She was begging, pleading with me to let her out. I swear it was her. So I opened that metal door. Feeling the stare of the cook, I ate a few of the fries. They were cold and soggy. What happened? I asked Stella. When I opened it, something briefly brushed past me. Something clammy, cold. It touched me very suddenly. There was pain. Stella unconsciously motioned to the Z scars on her neck, then continued. Anyway, there wasn't a room on the other side of the door, just a void, a deep emptiness. When the trip was over, I immediately felt a change. I felt like I was being watched. The whole rest of the night, the next day, the next week, something was following me. A shadow, a presence. And I knew, I just deep in my gut knew, that if something caught up with me, if it touched me again, I would die. She kept stabbing at her slice of pie, breaking the crust, letting the congealed blueberries slowly tumble out in a little landslide of jelly. You told me that you can't see this thing, Stella. The diner door opened, and suddenly 2 men in work overalls walked in, each holding a hard hat. Their clothes dusty, Stella suddenly straightened in her chair. 2 men just walked into the diner, right? I nodded. Yeah, just those 2 guys. Stella settled. Why me? I asked. Why did you want to meet? To tell me this? Stella smiled. First time she'd done that all night. Because I knew you'd believe me. I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly, impossibly dry. You've been a good friend, Stella blinked, away welling emotion. In high school, when things got bad with boyfriends or assholes, you were the one I could confide in. The one that trusted me. The one that, no matter what I did, no matter how stupid it was, you were there for me. A shoulder to cry on, a hand to hold. As she reached across the table and took my hand, squeezed it tight. The truth was, I had a crush on Stella most of high school. She was a friend for sure, and for a while a good friend. I liked being that rock for her, but I'd always hoped for more. Like most friendships, it began with one-sided attraction. Mine, and I hadn't seen her in half a year. Those feelings remained, dormant but there, waiting to be awakened. As Stella held my hand and smiled, I felt her finger tracing something on the inside of my palm. At first, slight, just a little pressure. Only it got sharper until, ah, shit! I pulled my hand away to find Stella had cut me. She'd sliced a shape with her sharp pinky nail in my skin. It was a backwards letter Z, like the ones cut in the neck. A ribbon of blood began to well up from the center of the small cup. What the hell, Stella? She just shook her head and stood up, backing away from the table, repeating over and over. I'm sorry, I had to, okay? I had to. Had to what? To hurt me? I was furious, confused. Everyone in the diner turned to watch us. Only the cook got up from his place at the counter and walked over, eager to lend a hand. I waved him away. It's okay, I got it under control. That was when Stella broke, her voice barely a whisper. What? I told him I got it. She went pale. Who? Who'd you tell? The cook! I yelled. He's just trying to help you. There is no cook. No one's there. Stella began shrieking, scrambling backwards. She slammed on a nearby table. Chairs fell over, silverware scattered. No one's there, she yelled. The cook kneeled down beside Stella, and for a split second, watered as I was, I honestly thought he was going to help her up. He didn't. Instead, he leaned in close to her. She was crying and shaking and clearly couldn't see him. The cook turned to me, nodded with a sick grin, and then opened his mouth wide to reveal jumbled, bloody gums filled with jagged teeth. He tore her throat out with a single bite. And as Stella's blood pumped out across the linoleum flooring, the cook vanished. Not a slow fade, not dissolving in the mist, just 1 second there, gone the next. Someone screamed. I think it was the woman in the pea green coat. Afterward, when the cops came, the story emerged. All of the people in the diner that night, they said Stella cut her own throat with a knife. Where she got the knife from and where it went, they didn't know. They also said that the cook had tried to help her, that he attempted to close the wound and save her life. The cops couldn't find him after the EMTs got there. When I went back to the diner the next day to ask about what happened, the waiter claimed they didn't even have a cook who resembled the man I described, the man I saw. It was as if, after Stella's death, all the details of her demise began to unravel. The universe was erasing her from existence entirely. And now the Voyager, whatever it was, is coming for me. It's been 5 days now since Stella died in that diner. 5 days I've been haunted and hunted. I tracked down Corey and he led me to Genevieve. She told me what fate awaited me. According to her, Voyagers use the symbol, the backwards Z's at RSL's neck, the one scratched into my flesh, to track their victims down. Stella, I guess she thought she could trick the Voyager into taking me instead of her. It didn't work, and now she's doomed me. It's just a matter of time before there's an extra person I can't see sitting across from me on a bus or walking behind me on the street. Right now, I'm in my bedroom at my parents' house. I haven't left in 48 hours and they're getting worried about me. They had heard I lost a friend, though they can't seem to recall anyone named Stella going to high school with me. And so they're being compassionate and letting me stay cooped up. But they've told me I've had visitors. Folks stopping by unannounced. Folks who, when I crane my neck out the window to catch a glimpse of them standing on the porch, aren't there at all. Just my parents, talking, gesturing into empty space. I'm going to have to leave this room eventually. That or my parents will get worried enough that they'll have me helped out, likely to the hospital. And when I get there, I'll be asking the same questions Stella did. How many people are in here right now? How many exactly? Alright. This next one is called, I found some old emails from my brother. He used to work at an Arctic research base. I don't think he's my brother anymore. You know how you start to do the most random things when you're bored out of your mind? A year ago, boredom found me trying to access my old Yahoo email, and somehow got in. I was hit with a wave of nostalgia upon seeing the updates and notifications of old games like Neopets, MapleStory, and Club Penguin. As I scrolled down, I noticed there were a bunch of emails in the spam inbox. Curious, I clicked on it and discovered they were sent by my brother Jack 19 years ago when he went to the Arctic for a research job. Date, 4th of July, 2004. Hey Squirt, surprise, surprise, your big bro here. I hope you're reading this email I made you, and give me a reply. I bet you don't know how to, though. Anyway, you might get a kick out of this years later, so it'll just be my diary for a while, won't you? How have you been? The Arctic are freezing, and the people are cold too, pun intended. Like, I met this burly dude called Kafka, who totally ignored me when I made a joke about his name. You know Kafka's my favorite author, right? On the bright side, there's a seal colony close to the base. Blubbery as they are, they're cute as heck. I wonder if they'll let me bring you one back as a souvenir. Peace, the best big bro ever, Jack. Date, 9th of July, 2004. Yo! 5 days on the job, baby. You and mom and dad doing okay? I wasn't getting much work at first, but the guys have been trusting me with a lot more stuff to do. Mostly lab work, that's fine. Work is better than nothing at all. The Arctic is majestic and all. There's barely anything to do outside of work. Pretty sure I walked 10 laps around the research base at one point because I was so bored. Internet's bad too, and only the email software works. The people here are literal zombies. Slay the whole day, but they act like the joy's been sucked out of them. Maybe the cold's gotten to their heads. Yeah, I'm sure that'll change when I make the biggest Arctic breakthrough. I'll be cheering in no time. Brother is a genius after all. Cheers, Genius Jack. Date, 14th of July, 2004. Hey bro, how's the summer holidays? Do you go anywhere fun? Finally allowed to go on outside expeditions, catching seals and tagging them mostly. It's fun. There's something fucking... Gotta censor this or I'll be in trouble with Mom. Weird though. Some dude came to the base and the people were all happy now for some reason. They call him Reverend. He dresses like a priest, even if it's cold as heck. He seems to be like a nice dude. But it's weird that he showed up out of nowhere. I asked about who he was, and they just told me that he was a former researcher who found the truth. As for what the truth is, I got zero clues. I guess I'll play detective for a while. Catch you later, alligator. Sherlock Jack. Date 16th of July, 2004. Dear little bro, how are you? Got any new crushes? I got a crush, literally. A chubby seal bit me, and my arm was crushed. Just kidding. I got a wound, but it's all bandaged up now. One of the seals we were tagging was fully sedated, so I got hurt. I'm healing up in my room now. By the way, Reverend had a prayer session when my arm was bit. I don't understand because it was in a language I'd never heard before. Maybe it's just doped up on drugs. But all the researchers were crying, and I was kind of creeped out for some reason. Stay safe, Jack. Hey kiddo, you alright? I'm typing this with one hand. My arm's not doing so well. Color's all off and it hurts. I'm worried it might have to get cut off or something. Kafka's been nursing me, but he keeps chanting something under his breath. Wherever comes by, they whisper to each other. I keep hearing a one that sounds like Gathalfi or something. I don't know the language, I don't know what it means. I asked Kafka what it meant. One under the ice, is all he said before leaving the room. Weird, right? Anyway, your bro's strong. One arm or two arms are gonna wrestle you to the ground when I'm back. Love you, Jack. 21st of July, 2004. No more. Cold. Good night. The email dating 21st of July 2004 was the last one. Jack came back home in August, safe and sound. What I read never left my mind until I saw Jack again at a family gathering today. He was wearing a t-shirt, arms exposed, not a hint of a scar on either of them. I had to know what happened. Hey, is your arm alright? I asked as we drank beer together on the porch. He slowly turned his head towards me, lips stretching into a tight smile. At that moment, everything about his face was just wrong to me. Why wouldn't it be? I looked into his eyes, deep, vacant voids of nothing. This was not my brother. I forced a chuckle. It's a really sunny day today. Aren't you worried about sunburn? You used to get that a lot. His expression was silent for a moment, eyes boring into mine, as if probing for something. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until his I missed you, little brother. I just realized that the cuts between stories might be a little bit jarring, instantaneous. That's simply because I'm pausing between each one to grab a drink. So I'm just kind of pausing the recording so you don't have to hear that. Anyway, this next one is called My Downstairs Neighbor Texted Me That I Was Being Too Loud. I wasn't home. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I was out at a bar, about 3.5 cosmopolitans deep. Tipsy, maybe somewhat pickled, but not totally gone. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I had one new text from my downstairs neighbor, who texted me very seldomly. Could you quit stomping around up there, please? It's very late. I sensed the aggression in her tone. One time I held a messy party on a Wednesday night and actually received a noise complaint from my landlord, whom she had spilled the beans to. Since then, I was cautious not to be too noisy. I stepped lightly and I told any guests to leave at reasonable time. This was odd, though, considering the fact that I wasn't even home. In fact, the bar I was at was about 4 cities over from my apartment anyway. I wasn't even in town. What do you mean? I texted back. I'm not home. My phone buzzed again before I even had time to fully put it in my pocket. I can hear you up there, and whoever else is with you. Please, it's very late and I'm trying to sleep. At this point, I slipped away from my friend group, all dancing, drinking, and partying, and head outside. All the smokers were outside. I just hope none of the men made any unsolicited remarks on my body while I was out there. This just seems to be something about a group of drunk men versus an unaccompanied tipsy woman. It's like they can't help themselves. They just have to say something. I heard a whistle from behind me, and I walked a little further to get away from them, and I heard a, "Hey, sexy," from behind me. I dared not respond with even a look in their direction. The task at hand was to call my neighbor. Hopefully, I wouldn't come across as totally delirious. Just for a little while, at least, I had to mask the subtle drunkenness. She answered the phone within seconds of me dialing. "Hey," I said. "Can you just please quiet down?" she said, obviously frustrated and exhausted. "I'm telling you, really, I'm not home." Okay, then who is? Because clearly someone is snooping around up there. No one, seriously. I left early today and I'll be back tomorrow. I can completely assure you the place is empty. I could tell she didn't believe me. Here, just FaceTime me for a second. Fine, she replied. She joined the FaceTime and I showed her my surroundings. I gave her a look and said, "See?" I think she was probably in bed. It was too dark to actually see as she was trying to get a clear look on her face. "Oh," she said, her voice reflecting that she suddenly believed me. "You sure no one is up there while you're learning?" "I'm sure. Really, no one's there. Maybe you're just here in the next suite over or something." "Maybe," she said. "Have a good night." "You too," I told her, my tone annoyed with her pestering. We hung up, and I walked back by the smokers and let myself back into the bar. I ignored any subsequent catcalling as I did so. It took a second to find my friends again. The music was loud and the lights were flashing. Once they saw me, I saw their hands go up. I waved back enthusiastically and rejoined the group. We continued dancing and drinking the night away. Hours later, we fell sloppily in our hotel room in a drunken pile. We slept until I wake up alarm, and in the morning, after completely breakfast in the hotel, we hit the road. When I was last week dropped off, my chauffeur of a best friend pulling me up to my apartment, ensuring we'd do that again sometime and have nights out more frequently. We said our goodbyes as she drove away as my key opened the main doors. Next, I got myself into my suite on the fourth floor. Good old 412. I walked in such disaster disarray that I stepped back outside to make sure I had entered the correct suite. There on the door in gold lettering were the numbers 412. Yeah, I was home. I flicked on a light and carefully explored my now unfamiliar surroundings. Dishes and cups had fallen into the floor and smashed, raining shards of glass all over. 2 knives had been scribbled over with a Sharpie. Blankets and pillows in the living area had an assortment of goo on them that I was afraid to touch. I noticed it gave off a metallic smell. I explored further, my eyes bulging and muscles tense. In the bathroom, the sink was plugged and a pair of my socks filled with water. I found 3 more pairs of socks in the toilet and 2 in the garbage in my bedroom, the final area I had to search. More of the weird goo littered my bed, some of it dripping onto the floor and becoming crusty in the carpet. My socks and underwear drawer had always been rifled through. I had about $250 of cash in my currency kept in my room as well. It was always stored safely in my bedside table, which had a lock on it. I found the cash in my sock drawer. The cash had obviously been moved, but none of it was taken. In a panic, I called my downstairs neighbor again. "Hello?" she answered. "What did you hear last night? What did it sound like? Someone's been in my suite." There was a pause of silence before she spoke again. "Huh?" she asked. "Last night, when you said there was some noises coming from my suite?" Again, a pause, then she spoke. "I didn't hear anything last night. Sorry to not be able to help, but I have been away on vacation for the past week. I don't get back until Thursday, so I really can't help you out there. Sorry." I ran my hand through my hair. I felt disoriented in a way that no amount of alcohol has ever made me feel. "No," I said, "you called me last night." "I assure you, I did not. Look, I gotta go. I'm sorry you were robbed or whatever, but I'm a 4-hour plane ride away. I cannot help." Completely confused, I managed to stutter quick, "Oh, okay," before I heard her hang up the phone. Suddenly, I felt something fall into my head. It was a sock. Alright, this next one is called "My Ex Thinks His House is Haunted and Wants Me to Investigate." The ghost experiment videos he sends me are terrifying. I hadn't thought about Jared for 5-6 years until yesterday. The only memento I have of our entire relationship is a Polaroid photo of the two of us, buried in a box in my closet somewhere. As I put my socks away, my mind flashed to Jared, who always stuffed his socks between the bed and the nightstand. One of those cute, weird little memories you have of someone you were in a relationship with. Moments later, my phone buzzed from the nearby dresser. That's serendipitous, I thought, before scanning the subject line. The ghost experiments. Help. Spooky. Or at least it would be if I didn't get loads of emails every day with variations on that word. A second here, sorry. Sorry about that, I had a text I had to respond to. Spooky. Or at least it would be if I didn't get loads of emails with variations on the word ghost in the subject line. Let me give you some background before I dive into the content of the email. Jared and I met back in college in our school's tiny forensic investigation program. He wanted to join the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which is like Canada's FBI. And I wanted to join a forensic image analysis lab. I was passionate about 2 things: photography and true crime. Forensic imaging seemed like the perfect fit. When we met, I was in my early 20s, Jared in his late 20s. He'd been volunteering as a firefighter and EMT for a few years before going back to school. He thought a bachelor's degree would look better on his RCMP application. It took me a while to realize he had any interest in me, a quiet woman that kept to herself. Jared always said my sense of humor is what he first noticed, though I never try to be funny. My friends suggest that my bluntness can be charming. Perhaps that was it. To make a long story short, Jared asked me out for a coffee one day after class, and we ended up dating for about a year. We were both quite logical people and suited each other well. We both enjoyed our own spaces too much to ever live together, but we were happy for a while. Things ended when Jared had to report for RCMP training in Regina, Saskatchewan? Yeah, close enough. Whereas I remained in BC to finish up my studies. Jared wasn't sure where he would get posted to after graduation, so it was reasonable to end things. In retrospect, Jared was the kindest, most level-headed man I'd ever dated, though I haven't exactly been pining for him all these years. Relationships come and go, and I started my career shortly afterwards. 6 months after college, I got a job as a forensic imaging technician in a small private lab. I toiled away as a technician for years before getting promoted to image analyst. Analysts are the ones that perform things like image authentication and photogrammetry. They also get all the best software and the coolest toys. Aside from seeing the absolute horrors of mankind on a regular basis, I enjoyed my job. The work was fulfilling, my hours weren't too bad, and my coworkers ranged from tolerable to excellent. In my findings, it is above average for a workplace. 1 month after my promotion to analyst, I woke up to an email telling me that I got laid off and no longer had a job. I felt gutted. Years of hard work down the drain. I'm still bitter about it. I hated the idea of leaving the Vancouver area, expensive as it may be, so I got a full-time gig as a server in a restaurant. I found a smaller apartment with my new co-worker Sarah, and things were starting to look up. Despite that, depression was kicking my ass. I was sad I wasn't doing lab work anymore. After wallowing in sadness, I did what any overeducated, broke millennial would do. I started a YouTube channel. I made videos on forensic imaging techniques and spouting common photography tricks. I'm proud of one of my videos, but nothing exactly paid my rent or broke the algorithm. That is until 1 October. Sarah encouraged me to do something spooky for Halloween. I've always enjoyed ghost stories, but I'm an absolute skeptic, which I wanted to make very clear. I released a video debunking paranormal or ghost footage, taking 5 different videos of paranormal activity. I broke down their rational explanations. There were a lot of strings and pulling doors, or cameras and drawers. Plenty of poor quality cameras make ghosts for various reasons. Certain cameras have low shutter speeds, or poor quality codecs that cause all manner of aberrations. Spotting computer-generated imagery, CGI, can be tricky, but there are plenty of tells if you know where to look. Sometimes ghosts were actually dust near the camera lens and so on. Frankly, this is my least technical, lowest effort video on the entire channel. So of course this was the video that blew up and got loads of views. Getting ad revenues and sponsorships was exciting, so I decided to make a few similar videos. I could have kept making those videos, but this was something attached. I went back to my regular content in November, and the well dried up quick. The whole ordeal left me feeling depressed once again. I had no lines on another lab day job, my channel was dying, and I was going through the motions of my day-to-day life, until the email. I have removed some identifying information, but otherwise will preserve as much content as possible. The email. To Marnie, redacted. From Jared, redacted. Subject line, The Ghost Experiments. Help. Hey Marnie, it's Jared from our days at college name. I hope you're keeping well. I heard what happened to your lab last year, and I'm sorry about that. The reason I'm writing is we've had some unusual things happening in our home. I've set up cameras and audio recorders to try and figure out what's going on, but I'm working such long hours these days, I don't have as much time to look into this as I would like. I've attached an explanation video and all the raw files on a Google Drive for you to review. At your earliest convenience, if you're interested, we will pay you $2,000 to come over to our place in town on Vancouver Island for a few days. You can run whatever experiments you see fit, and use the content for your channel as long as you don't show our faces. We have a guest room and plenty of space for you to work in. Our second baby is on the way, and I'm willing to do anything to reduce our stress. We're really scared. If I don't hear from you in the next 2 weeks, I'll assume you're not interested and I won't bother you again. Warmly, Corporal Jared, redacted. P.S. Apologies for the dramatic subject line, I thought it might get your attention. I have to admit, my initial thoughts focused on the wrong things.
Wife, second baby on the way? Clearly, I haven't creeped him enough on social media over the last few years. Bad thoughts, Marnie, put those away. I definitely didn't know what to make of the fact that they were scared. Was he pranking me? I had to admit the proposal was interesting, though. $2,000 in Vancouver was, well, 1 month's rent, but getting 1 month of rent for a few days of work and some fodder for another video was tempting. I opened up the attached Google Drive, and I was surprised to see 70 gigabytes of content in the drive. The main folder was a video labeled edited explanation.mp4, followed by folders labeled raw footage, audio recordings, house, records, and findings. This was a prank, it was an elaborate one. To determine if any of this was worth my time, I clicked on the explanation video first. I let a small gasp when I saw Jared's face. He was talking at the camera from the middle of the kitchen island in a modern, fancy-looking house. The year had been kind to Jared. His shoulders were more broad than I remembered, and his stubble had grown in. His facial hair used to be a lot more patchy, but he kept it clean-shaven back in college. The video buffered for a second, and then started playing. Hey, Marnie. Jared was smiling, but he sounds tired. I'm recording this because there's some unusual stuff going on in my house. Jenny's really freaked out, and I don't know. If you asked me 2 months ago if I thought ghosts were real, I would have said no. No way. But now I'm still sleep deprived and I'm not even sure anyway. I saw your ghost debunking videos and I'm hoping if you can be a voice of reason here. I need help to figure out what exactly this is. Jared cleared his throat. Okay, I'll start from the beginning. I moved into this place here in town a few months ago. Super nice home, brand new development. The very first night, we woke up to a loud banging noise at exactly 3:24 a.m. I shot out of bed, grabbed my sidearm, and cleared each room. Nobody was inside or outside our property, and there was no sign of an intruder. No forced entry or anything like that. I grabbed Simon. That's my son, Simon. He's 11 months old now, so 9 months at a time. From the nursery and came back to bed. We weren't sure what it was, but we went back to bed after I was certain there was no immediate threat to my family. Then it happened again the next time. The exact same time, 3:24. Bang, bang, bang. Jared made a knocking gesture in the air. Simon was co-sleeping with us that night. I cleared the house again, checked the yard. I walked around the property. Nothing. Now it was a pattern, and after 2 shitty sleeps in a row, I decided to leave my phone recording all night. I'll play the clip now. The screen cut to black. Only the date and the timestamp was visible. 3:24 a.m. like before, followed by a startling noise. Bang, 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 bang. 2 sets of 5 knocks. I jumped in my chair at the volume of the noise, cursing under my breath. You can hear baby Simon start to cry and the commotion of his parents getting startled awake. The video cuts back to Jared in the kitchen. I'll spare you more of this, but if you check the audio recordings, you can find 19 individual recordings. All loud bangs, 2 sets of 5 knocks at exactly 3:24 in the morning. There would be more, but we got kind of numb to it after a while, and well, you'll see. At this point I started wondering, why me? I'm an imaging specialist, not an audio expert. Much to my annoyance, Video Jared seemed to read my thoughts. Now, I know you're more of a video expert, but if you do have any context in forensic audio, feel free to send those along. You're a presumptuous bastard. I do have a friend like that. I haven't told anyone at work what's going on. Not sure how I'd even begin explaining this. After 3 days of these noises, I picked up a bunch of home security cameras that do night vision and audio. Put them all over the house, interior and exterior. Aside from the bathroom, the only room I didn't put a camera in was Jim's studio. She's a professional seamstress and didn't like the idea of the camera staring at her while she worked. She caved, and you'll notice in the recording the footage for her studio pops up around day 24 to catch anyone creeping around. I had large motion sensor lights installed outside. Oh, and I put some small motion sensors in the hallways. The camera cuts to the kitchen, the master bedroom, nursery, 2 hallways, guest bedroom, garage, front yard, and backyard. One thing was clear to me. This house was nice. Like, how on earth does a corporal and a seamstress afford this level of nice? Does Jen count for money? Jared certainly doesn't. It would take me years to save for a place like this in my old analyst salary. After installing the cameras, I managed to capture something for the first night. The video cuts to several exterior night shots. The motion lights are off. All is still. Day 3 displays on the screen, and the timestamp is visible in the corner. The hallway closest to the bedroom, the clock now reads 3:23 a.m. The motion light turns on, illuminating the hall. but no one is in frame. The hallway is silent. As the clock changes to 3:24 p.m., the center light switches off. A pause, then two light sets of 5 knocks. Mayor's ring at the sheer volume of the knocks. On the footage, Jared springs out of bed and comes out into the hallway in a t-shirt and boxers, his gun drawn. The hallway motion light turns on as Jared yells for anyone to make themselves some. The video follows him as he searches through the various rooms of the house. Jen stays in the bedroom, clutching the baby to her chest, as the video cuts back to Jared, narrating the kitchen. As you can see, right before the knocking sound, something set off our motion sensors in the hallway. I scanned every scrap of surveillance footage from that day, and I can tell you, no one's entered our house. All the footage is there on the drive if you want to view it for yourself. Now I know what you're thinking. It could be a faulty motion sensor. I thought the same. So I replaced brand X motion sensor with brand Y the very next day to be sure. Video cuts to day 4, 3:23 a.m. The new brand Y motion light is in view. Jared sits awake in an uncomfortable-looking wooden chair in the hallway, phone and gun in hand. The light in the hallway is off as another set of loud pounding noises goes off at the same time it changes to 3:24 a.m. The noise sounds further away now, distant. Jared springs out of the chair and wheels around with his gun, trying to discern the source of the sound. The camera angle switches to hallway 2, closer to the guest bedroom. At 3:23 a.m., the new motion light turns on, and the guest door starts shaking with the knocks at 3:24 a.m. So here's the thing, kitchen narrator Jared continues. The knocking noise comes from a different spot every night. The noise happens consistently and focused into the wireless speaker. The fact it moves room to room without anyone getting caught on camera is perplexing. I confirm this with the attached raw surveillance footage. My phone's audio recordings have similar results. You check those out in the Google Drive. Some nights, the knocking's loud, other times you can barely hear it. I'm actually starting to sleep through it now. His voice was wary, almost resigned to the fact. In that moment, I felt bad for Jared, but I wasn't sure how I could help. I wish I could say we were only dealing with loud noises in the middle of the night, but here's where you come in. On day 14, I captured this. We cut away from Jared and are now watching Jen playing with baby Simon in the kitchen. The timestamp reads 10:35 a.m. It's the middle of the day, light is pouring in from the beautiful framed windows. The house looks serene like this, much less spooky than the previous few nights' worth of footage. Behind Jen, the utensil drawer slides open on its own. I've seen plenty of shots like this in fake paranormal videos. I leaned in, hoping to spot an obvious sign of a hoax. Usually they put one string on the drawer, and one string on the utensil, and then pull on it hard. This rips the object across the room and makes a little jump scare. What happened instead took me by surprise. The silver spoon gently floats out of the drawer, twirling upward in the air. It rotates, spinning in a few different directions. Not impossible to fake with strings, but quite difficult. This could be CG, but it seems real at first glance. The levitating spoon spins higher, into the air, and baby Simon starts grabbing towards it. You can hear him giggle on the tape. He's excited by the flying spoon. Jen turns her head over her shoulder to see what Simon's looking at. Exactly at the moment she does that, the spoon drops back down into the drawer with a loud crash. Jen startles at the noise and gets up to look at the utensil drawer. She seems confused. We're then brought back to Jared in the kitchen. If you check the footage, you'll see I'd left for work hours before, and Jen was with Simon all morning. For a moment, video cuts to Jared walking out the door in full police gear at 4:45 a.m. Spoons on the raw footage too, in case you think we did with computers or whatever. I found myself annoyed at how well Jared was predicting my reactions. Was this an elaborate prank? Why would a family man want to get one over on his ex from college? It's not like we had a falling out. In fact, he ended things with me. It didn't make any sense. Before my thoughts could catch up with my feelings, the video carried on. Loud noises and floating silverware are one thing. This next clip is the real reason we wanted your expertise. Interesting Freudian slip there, Jared. The video takes us to night vision footage of the nursery, with day 35 and a timestamp of 2:13 a.m. Little Simon stirs from his sleep and wakes up in his crib. He makes a few cooing noises as he gets up and tries to prop himself up on the side of the crib. He lets out a little giggle, looking in the direction of the closet. Then, rising up from the ground, a shadowy figure emerges from the floor. The shape gets taller and taller until it looms over Simon's crib. The rough shape of a man has no distinguishable features and it's semi-transparent. My immediate reaction is to ask CG, but the effect looks good. shadowy figure's hand reaches out towards Simon and holds his arm in position. Simon laughs and makes grabbing motions towards the figure's hand. The figure remains motionless for a moment, and Simon bobs up and down with excitement. The other arm reaches out towards Simon. Both hands are now inching closer to the baby. He seems thrilled with his dark visitor. Long black figures grasp at Simon's sides, like how any parent would pick up their baby. The figure starts to slowly lift Simon off the ground, his toes no longer touching the crib. Suddenly, Simon winces and lets out a sharp cry of pain. I recoil at the noise. The figure stops lifting Simon and holds it motionless, arms stretched in front. The figure had a face, I'd say it was staring at him. Simon starts squirming in the figure's hands, and I fight the urge to look away from the screen. Light bursts in the hallway. The instant that happens, the shadowy figure drops into the floor, disappearing completely. Simon drops almost a foot down into the crib, stumbling. Jen rushes over to the crib and inspects Simon. She picks him up and takes him out of the room. Skeptic though I may be, it's hard to describe how unsettling that moment was. I found myself peering over my shoulder to make sure no one was behind me. But in my empty apartment, I still had to check. The video comes back to Jared in the kitchen one last time. There's something you should see. Jared's face looks strained, intense. Two pictures appear on screen. Both photos are of baby Simon, his pajama shirt pulled up, and he's bruised across his chest, sides, and back. Dark bruises in the shape of handprints with long, slender fingers. I don't even have words. Same, Jared. Same. Simon's staying over at Jen's sister's place for now. He rushed into the hospital right after this. Doctor says he'll be fine, and I'm hoping he doesn't call CPS on us. Jared stares off into space. There's a pregnant pause. I catch myself impatiently moving my mouse to skip over the moment of silence, but it's not needed. Jared speaks again. If you want to analyze this footage and give me a rational explanation for this, please do. Please, if you go through the drive, you can see I've tried to track down every explanation I can think of. I even bought an EMF meter. I have no idea how this thing works, to be honest. I downloaded the original plans for the house, every permit relating to this property, to the history of the land, everything. It's all there in the drive. There's nowhere in our house someone could be hiding. I've checked the attic, the crawlspace, and the ventilation system. Even checked to make sure our house was on sacred, local indigenous tribe land. I confirmed no recorded murders have ever happened here. We're the first people to ever live here. I tried to summarize everything into a findings folder, but honestly, I don't have any concrete findings at all. You might laugh at this, but we're really scared, Marn. Scared for Simon. Jen wants to cleanse our house with white sage and crystals, and I'm ready to call a priest. We've sunk all our savings into this house, and the market sucks right now. We won't be able to move for a few years at least. You know me. I'm a rational person, but this has shaken me to my very core. We'll pay you for your time and get you any equipment you need. Jared pauses, searching for anything else to say. I guess that's it. Thanks, Marn. Please get back to me once you get this, please. The video ends and I stared at the screen, reeling. I'm not sure how long I sat there for. Exactly all I know is I jumped out of my skin when my roommate Sarah opened our front door. After she finished laughing at my expense, I told Sarah about Jared and showed the video. When she got to the clip of the shadowy figure playing with baby Simon, she gasped and covered her mouth. He remained silent by the video's end. Are you going to help him? Sarah asked. Maybe, I said. That's the best answer I had. Do you think this is a hoax? Maybe. No, I don't know. I'm going to have to look over the drive first. Sarah agreed that was a good idea and left me to it. The drive contained everything Jared said it did, and more. It was 2 months worth of continuity security footage taking up the bulk of storage. I scrubbed through as much of it as I could, paying special attention to the days leading up to the spoon incident and the Shadow Man. At no point did I see anyone rigging up lighters or sophisticated lightning rigs, and both events were on the raw footage exactly as Jared presented them. I even found other moments of lights turning on and objects moving around the house on their own. I watched these moments over and over, looking for any signs of digital or physical trickery. I didn't have all my sophisticated tools I would have back at the lab, but as far as I can tell, there was none. No evidence of file tampering. The files came directly from the security cameras. The lighting was also very consistent in both clips. Not a pixel was out of place. Aside from the spoon not obeying the laws of physics, it all looked perfect. I decided to send the clips to my friends at the forensic imaging lab for further analysis, but my current educated guess is, if this is fake, It wasn't done with computer effects. Even the Shadow Man, maybe. I also reviewed the house documents and the history of the place. This wasn't my area of expertise, but with some Google Foo I was able to determine the documents were legitimate. Jared even made a map of the cell tower coverage in his area, in an attempt to track electromagnetic interference. His home had cell coverage, but not an unusual amount of travelers nor traffic. I also reviewed most of the audio files recorded from his phone. The knocks were audible in all of them. I bundled up those files and sent them to my friend who specializes in forensic audio analysis. If nothing else, he should be able to give me a rough idea of what would be making the sound. Hopefully, he'll get back to me sooner or later. Aftermath. It's the next day, and I'm sitting in my kitchen, getting barely any sleep. Sarah's left for work. I've typed up an email telling Jared I'll take the job, but I'm having a hard time bringing myself to hit send. I even bought myself a ferry ticket to take me to Vancouver Island tomorrow. To shake myself out of my funk, I decided to take a shower. A hot shower was exactly what I needed. Felt like all the fear and uncertainty washed right off me. I went down the drain. I decided I would take the job and confidently marched out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel to hit send on an email. Then I stopped in my tracks. Resting on my laptop's keyboard was a Polaroid photograph. The photograph had gotten buried in a box somewhere. The photograph that wasn't there when I left to take a shower. The photograph of Jared and I from college. Now, apparently this, thing about the ghost experiments it's a multi-part series. So what I'm going to do is, I feel like I'm going to make this, horror story reading a weekly thing. So next week, perhaps I will finish the series, depending on how many there are. These videos are not gonna go past an hour 15 minutes, simply because my editing service and software can't really handle that. But if this does well enough, this one here, this series of ghost experiments will get the, I will finish off the series next week. It's gonna be like an every Friday thing. I just kind of uploaded this at a weird time. Now then, let's read one more. Alright, this is going to be the last story for the night. This one's called, My Friend Sent Me an Online Quiz and His Questions Became Unsettling. Me and my friend, all called H for transcribing our exchanges, started chatting online and got to sending each other increasingly funny online quizzes. You know, those ones that tell you which member of a band or which Disney princess or whatever else you are. H. Okay, I found another one. It's called, What Fast Food Restaurant Are You? Me. And did you find out? H. I don't know, I haven't finished yet. Me. Alright, send the link. We went back and forth like this for a while. He'd keep looking for new quizzes, share his results, and I'd try them too. By the time I'd finished, he'd have another one ready. I got up to get some water, leaving my laptop on the couch. Once I come back, he had, of course, sent me another link. Dude, take a look at this. https:// Yeah, I'm not even going to try and read that. I don't know what it is. I'll copy and paste it to the editing one. You know, I'll just put it on the video for you guys to read. I clicked the link, expecting another quiz. I was surprised, however, by the rather plain page that greeted me. White background, Arial text, and only the all-caps word quiz in bold at its top. Below it was a question. What is your favorite color? I picked blue from a selection of colors, and the next question appeared on screen. The first few I went through were relatively mundane. Things like whether I prefer cats or dogs, pepperoni or cheese pizza, etc. Nothing non-standard for these quizzes. I just answered whether I was an introvert, when I noticed that the next question had a free response box. What is your name? It read. Tentatively, I typed my first name in the box and pressed enter. I have a common enough name that didn't feel too uncomfortable sharing it. The question following it, however, was even more bizarre. It was again free response, and this time said simply, Where do you live? I tabbed out of the site and to message H again. Why are these questions on this one so weird? I idled for a couple of minutes but didn't receive a response. Tiring of the wait, I returned to the quiz page and reread the words. Where do you live? I couldn't move on without submitting an answer, so I just pressed space to leave the query blank before moving on. Unfortunately, this didn't allow me to progress. red text appearing below the box telling me that I had to input a valid location. I tried inputting a real location, New York, and the red text changed to say only incorrect. I refreshed and reopened the page to no avail. It's not letting me keep going. Do you have any other ones? This one kind of sucks. This time, H responded. It gets good, I promise. Just answer these ones. I don't want to give this site where I live, though. It'll be fine. The payoff is worth it. So I entered the name of the town I live in. Then it allowed me to continue to the next question. The fuck? How did I know the answer I put in was correct? After my immediate response, I looked at the next question. It was back to multiple choice with the binary yes or no option. Are you alone right now? Unsettled, I glanced around the room. I pressed no and tried to continue, but the next question wouldn't load. I tried pressing it again, and to my dismay, I was able to advance. Okay, this is really creepy. I think I'm gonna stop now. Just keep going. Just trust me, please. I'm sure you're almost at the end. Okay, fine, but if it gets any weirder, I'm bailing. I read the question. Can I come inside? There are no options to select, only the text. Then I heard a sound emanating from the front of my house. Knocking, my blood ran cold as the sound continued in short, sparse bursts. H, what the fuck is this? He responded with, that. Yes. When I looked at my laptop again, the words on screen had changed. No longer a question, but now a command. Let me in.